Hey guys! So, as you know, we have had the craziest week ever. There was no internet in the school yesterday. Well, it'll be Wednesday now that I'm recording this. No internet, so we couldn't have class because that's where class is, on the internet. So, I am doing a recording for you of a lesson that we missed for math. Now, this is an easy lesson. It's just about numbers and multiplication, so I think you should do really well with it. So we're going to be talking today about prime numbers and composite numbers and what in the world those are. So the first thing I have for you is not a vocabulary, it is a brain pop. It's a brain pop. So let me get that brain pop pulled up and we'll get started.
Hey, what's going on? You didn't say anything. Those are just beeps. Are you feeling okay? Wait, 2 beeps, 3 beeps, 5 beeps. I see what you're doing. Let me guess, 7 beeps is next?
Uh-oh. Let's make sure let me log it in. I am so sorry, guys. Those same internet problems that we were having in the school, it looks like they are here again. Let's try this one more time. Let me search the correct. I am so sorry, guys. Let's see if it works this time.
Are you feeling okay? Wait, 2 beeps, 3 beeps, 5 beeps. I see what you're doing. Let me guess, 7 beeps is next? Man, I'm good. Dear Tim and Moby, what are prime numbers? Thanks, Giovanni. As you've noticed, Moby's been rattling off different numbers of beeps. Each of those numbers happens to be a prime number, which is a whole number greater than 1 that is divisible by exactly 2 numbers, 1 and itself. Put another way, a prime number can have only 2 factors. So 7 is a prime number because it has only 2 factors, 1 and 7. Okay, I challenge you to find a number other than 1 or 7 that divides evenly into it. Thought so. Okay, based on our definition, 1 can't be a prime number because it's only divisible by one number, 1. And a number like 8 is also not prime because it has 4 factors, 1, 8, 2, and 4. Numbers that are divisible by more than 2 numbers are called composite numbers. As for why Moby's beeping prime numbers, I'm not so sure. Communicating with alien civilization... Okay, you've been watching way too many sci-fi movies. The fact is, prime numbers have fascinated human civilization for as long as people have been studying math. We're pretty sure the ancient Egyptians knew about prime numbers, though the ancient Greeks were probably the first to really study them. The famous Greek mathematician Euclid wrote an entire book on the subject. He wrote about some of the most fundamental properties of prime numbers. Well, one of them was called the fundamental theorem of arithmetic. Here's what it says. Every whole number greater than 1 that isn't a prime number is actually the product of prime numbers. In other words, by multiplying different sets of prime numbers together, you can come up with any non-prime number, no matter how big or small. That's one of the reasons mathematicians continue to study primes. They're like the building blocks of all numbers. Breaking any number down into its prime elements is a process called prime factorization. Euclid also proved that there are infinitely many prime numbers.
We're going to stop it right there because we're not really talking about prime factorization with our lesson. So we're going to get right into our PowerPoint lesson. Well, let me make sure I have my pen on. Yes, I do. Awesome. All right, here we go. So prime and composite numbers. So let's talk about, well, Ms. Anderson, why in the world do I need to know about prime and composite numbers? Well, here may be a couple scenarios that you might need to use prime and composite numbers. Let's say you're baking cupcakes for a birthday party. You'll be able to know the amount you baked can be divided evenly between your friends. Will you have leftovers? If the number that you get is a prime number, then you know you're going to get leftovers of those cupcakes. Another example of when you would need to know prime and composite. On field day, there's a certain amount of minutes that everyone gets to be able to get to all the stations. The field day planners must know if they can split the time that they have so that everybody can get the same amount of time at each station. If the number of minutes is a prime number, then there will be extra minutes left over. Ms. Anderson, I'm so confused. What in the world are you even talking about? Well, let's learn it because I promise you it's easy. All right, so let's first talk about what a prime number is. Prime numbers are very easy. Let's look at them. All right, so we learned factors early on in the week. So a prime number is a number that only has two factors, one and itself. There are no other combination of numbers that you can multiply to get a product. Okay, so here is an easy way that Ms. Anderson likes to remember prime numbers and what they are. So if you look, the word prime, P-R-I-M-E, you see that I is highlighted in red and the M-E is highlighted in blue. This is an easy way to remember what a prime number is. If you look at this word, the letter I kind of looks like the number 1. And the word me is at the end, me, M-E. So prime numbers only have the factors 1 and me, 1 in itself. So for example, 5. Let's say we have, well, let me get my thing. All right, so we have 5. If you remember when we did factors, so we're asking ourselves, is this number 5 prime or composite? So let's see. Remember, prime number only has two factors, 1 in itself. So what are the factors of 5? Remember, factors are numbers that multiply together to get a number. So the two factors of 5 are 1 and 5. Are there any other numbers in the world that we can multiply to get the number 5? Are there any other combinations? Can we do 2 times something equals 5? What about 3 times something equals 5? No, we can't. There are no other numbers that can multiply together to get 5. So 5 is a prime number because the only two factors that it has is 1 and itself. So let's think of another prime number because I think our next one, has to do with composite. So let's try to think of another prime number. Let's see. Let's ask ourselves about the number 7. Is 7 prime? Well, what else or what factors do we get when we are looking at the number 7? So what numbers can be multiplied to get the number 7? Well, always, just like we learned with factors, is always going to be 1 in itself. What else can I multiply together to get 7? Anything? So guess what? The number 7 is prime because it can only be multiplied 1 in itself to get that number. There's nothing else that can be multiplied together to get 7. Let's try another one. Let's try another one. Let's look for the number 9. Let's see about 9. Oops. Blank times blank equals 9. Let's see. What are the factors of 9? What can I multiply together to get 9? Well, of course, 1 and 9. Is there anything else that I can multiply together to get the number 9? So again, this shows you just how important those multiplication facts are, and you knowing those multiplication facts. I do have another set of numbers that I can use to multiply together to get 9. What are those numbers? 3. Uh-oh, what happened? 3 times 3. So guess what? This is not a prime number because 1 in itself is not the only set of numbers or set of factors that the number 9 has. It also has a factor of 3's. Okay? So, the number 9 is not called prime. We call that composite. A composite number is a number that has more than 2 factors. So I just used 9 as an example. Well, let's talk about 10. Let's talk about the number 10. What can I multiply together to get 10? Well, of course, we know 1 and 10 will multiply together to get the number 10. What else can I multiply together to get 10? 2 and 5, right? Is there anything else? There's nothing else. So, we can see that there are more than 2 factors for the number 10. So, the number 10 has more factors than just 1 in itself. 1 in itself are factors of it, but that's not the only ones because we can multiply 2 and 5. So, 2 and 5 are also factors of 10, and that makes it composite. All right, so the number 2. The number 2. Is it prime or is it composite? So, we talked about multiples yesterday. So we know what multiples are. We talked about even numbers. When we talked about factors, we said that all even numbers will have a factor of 2. So for example, when we had number 10, because 10 is an even number, we know that 2 is also going to be a factor of it. So what I'm talking about is that we know we can multiply 2 times something to get an even number. Well, 2 is an even number. So it has to be composite, right? No. The only factors of the number 2 is 1 in itself. So 2 is a prime number. So if I go blank times blank equals 2, what can I multiply together to get 2? 1 times 2. Is there anything else that I can do to get the number 2? No, there's not. Because if I say 2 times 1, that's the same thing. So these 2 equations right there, they're the same. The order in multiplication does not matter. Okay? So remember, if we go back, prime numbers only have factors of 1 in itself. Nothing else. 1 times blank equals this. That is a prime number if it has no more factors besides 1 in itself. And then all even numbers are going to be composite because they have the factors of 1 in itself and they're going to have factors of 2 and something else as well. It may have more than that. But even numbers are also going to be composite because they can be multiplied by, or it can be, factors of it are 2 and something else. And the only exception to the rule is the actual number 2. Because 2 is the only factors it has is 1 and itself. So 2 is the only even number that is prime. And we don't count the number 1 as either of them. We just, if we wanted to count the number 1 as either of them, it would be prime, because 1 times 1 equals 1. All right, so how can we figure out if a number is prime or composite? Well, let's start with a hundreds chart. We can cross out the multiples of numbers in order, and what's left that doesn't get crossed out are the prime numbers. All right, so we are going to look at, Miss Anderson has already done this for you. So in Schoology, you will see your assignment. It's a prime or composite, and I will change the due date to that. Let me go ahead and do that now. I will change that to the 12th, which is today. All right, so I've already done the hundreds chart for you. So it says a prime number is a whole number with only 2 factors, 1 in itself. So all of the green numbers are prime numbers. So all of these numbers only have 2 factors. They can only be multiplied by 2 or 1 in itself to get that number. So for example, the number 37, I can only do 1 times 37. There's no other multiplication problem in the world that's going to give me 37 besides 1 times 37. That's the only factors that it has. The same thing for the number 83 down here. The only 2 numbers that I can do, that I can multiply together to get 83 is 1 and 83. Okay, so all of these green numbers are prime numbers. And as you can tell, we have way more composite numbers than prime numbers. So if we go back to our folder for Thursday, or today, Friday, and I go back and I can look at my composite numbers. All of my composite numbers are in pink. So again, a composite number has more than 2 factors. So 2 of the factors are going to be 1 in itself, because every single number in the world has a factor of 1 in itself. But composite numbers have more than that. They have 1 in itself, sometimes 2, sometimes 5, sometimes 6. So composite numbers have more than 2 factors. All right, so let's look at our assignment. All right, let me pull that up for you. All right, all you have to do is tell me whether these numbers are prime or composite. You have, let me see how many questions you have. You have 20 questions, and they are all the same. They're just different numbers. You are just going through and answering, is this number prime or is this number composite? Don't forget, when you get finished, to hit the review button, and do not forget to hit finish, okay? Only when it says that's all is when you can move along. All right, I will be posting a video for you, another help video for you. If this video of me teaching is not enough to help you, you must get this assignment done today. It is due today, and I'll see you guys on Tuesday. Remember, we don't have school on Monday, no live sessions. It's President's Day. Enjoy your weekend. I'll see you Tuesday morning, everybody.